Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to part 2 of Forbidden Lore, the Ravenloft box set from back in the 90s, 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, Ravenloft. What a box set. This is just, so much was packed into this, and I finally finished off the last 2 books in the box set. Mind you, there are 5 books in the box set, and I've already covered the first 3, Nova Arcanum, Dark Recesses, and Oaths of Evil. And Oaths of Evil, as you may or may not know, helped me make it through the episode of Gatekeepers on Curses. If you guys have not seen that, excuse me, please go check it out. This book was very, very helpful. If you're into, giving your party members the gift that keeps on taking, by all means check out that episode. Or if you've already got the box set, I encourage you to break it out and give it a second read. Now, in the remainder of this review, I have what did I do? Cryptic Allegiances is a book of all the secret societies, or a nice smattering of the secret societies for Ravenloft. The Dark Delvers, which are folks who like to do all their weird culty robed activities underground with their own little circles of followers and hierarchies, and their secret lord and master, an infernal nasty that widely open to interpretation, so you can really make that cult your own. The Kargante, you'll have to read it for yourself. Kargatane, and a vampire cult, basically, that doesn't know it's a vampire cult. Cool, you gotta have one. The Ildi Thon, which is basically a psychic cult, a group of psionics that mess with people and you do the usual evil psionic group stuff. Great, gotta have that. If you're gonna play 2nd edition, you might as well play the edition that was the most user friendly when it comes to psionics. And if you're into that, you got a cult right here, or a secret society just waiting to be taken advantage of. Then the Ata Bestal, which is a werewolf, beastman kind of cult. Sure, fits right into Ravenloft. Could easily fit into any other Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game. And that's one of the great things. One of the things that's great about this particular box set and this book. There's a lot of stuff that easily transfers over to any other RPG. With a few tweaks, file some serial numbers off, and you're good to go. You can use this stuff in just about any game, even good old-fashioned hardcore sci-fi. I could easily turn this into Traveler material. Then the next one is Adam's Children, and if you don't know, Adam is Ravenloft's version of Frankenstein, and thus there is a secret society of flesh golems, Frankenstein-type monsters, looking for more spare parts. Don't get caught by them, because you'll either end up as a Frankenstein monster or quite possibly in this soup. Whatever is going to scare your players, more so. Now, believe it or not, the last cult is the Keepers of the Black Feather, and they are the only secret society that is actually a good aligned secret society, which revolves around the were-ravens, and how those guys are also of good alignment, and their main goal, their sole purpose for existing, is to bring down Strahd himself. Highly ambitious, considering what low hit dice they have, but they're on a holy quest to find the one artifact that will turn our favorite vampire into a pile of ash. The next book is The Waking Dream. Now, I went through this, and I found out that on the back there's a chart for the dice. There's a set of 5 dice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess what? I don't have one of them. When I bought the box set, I guess it was missing a die, or somehow I lost it in the last couple of weeks, and I'll probably find it later on. I hope I do, because trying to roll your fortune with just 4 out of 5 dice is going to mean something's going to be left out of your fortune. But that's what this book does, is it basically teaches you how to use the dice for fortune telling, and of course, like I told you before, it's also got a deck of Troika tarot cards. It has its own way of telling fortunes. Both the dice and the cards are, great for that. If you want to have gypsies and fortune tellers in your game, regardless of whether it's Ravenloft or not, you could use these. You could use a regular deck of cards, obviously, but these ones are a little more helpful in that they've got, the different suits. There's 5 suits. These swords, it just broke my rubber band. Oh well. These swords, the pentacles or stars. I think they're coins. Some sort of flowery looking thing. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Maybe it's fire. And then a crown. And the crown are like a mixed arcana or set of 10 or 12 cards with things like the ghost, the empress, the marionette, and all of them have their own definitions of what they represent in gameplay to help, craft the story of the future, that is the fortune of the party or the player character in question that's asking the fortune teller to, tell me my fortune, what's in store for me, that kind of thing. And each suit has various cards: the wizard, the conjurer, the necromancer, the illusionist, the evoker, elementalist, enchanter, stuff like that for the pentacles. The coins have things like the rogue, the miser, the thief, the beggar, way different from your average deck of tarot cards, but, more tailor-made for a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. I could see using these, but very sparingly and only in maybe a particular campaign. I wouldn't try to shoehorn this stuff into every campaign, but having read the entire box set, I can guarantee you there is a ton of stuff that I would transfer over to, at least in some part, to almost every fantasy role-playing game that I might run in the future. There's definitely a lot of stuff in Ravenloft, Forbidden Lore to borrow from. You know what I mean? One way or the other, you can find stuff. If you're running a more historical game, you could definitely use a lot of stuff here. If you're running a low fantasy, this is very low fantasy in that there's all kinds of fantasy things going on, but there isn't a lot of magic items and a lot of magic going on, spell battles and things like that. The higher fantasy stuff. But at the same time, if you want to run it a high fantasy game with a little bit of tweaking, you can add a little bit more and a little bit more until it's the right flavor for you and your player group. It's definitely worth the read. Now, whether it's worth the price on eBay right now, you guys know what I'm going to say. Wait until after Valentine's Day. If you really want it, grab it then. Or you could, sail the high seas, see what you can find. You won't get the dice. You won't get the cards. The maps will be hard to use because they're cut up into pieces to fit on a PDF file. But, the maps are cool, but they're all, more or less one-use maps that you might use for something else, but change the name, file the serial numbers off them and fit them into some other campaign. But if you're running a Ravenloft game, absolutely, or I should say campaign, if you're going to run a full-fledged Ravenloft campaign, which I highly recommend you do at least once in your lifetime, maybe start here this month, November, and see how far you can get by next October, and see if you want to continue, because starting it last month would have been ideal. Run a year-long Ravenloft campaign, get all that Halloween, Gothic, vampire goodness out of your system, and see what comes next. I may do so. More than likely, I'm going to add bits and pieces from Ravenloft into my next campaign, just because there are some places where it'll fit, as opposed to going fully into pure Ravenloft, which I find that if you were running a full blatant Ravenloft campaign, a lot of players would know what to expect and lose the horror aspect of it, not be able to immerse themselves in that after a while, kind of like why most Call of Cthulhu games are one-shots or very short campaigns, because it's very difficult to keep suspending your disbelief and playing into the horror aspect after maybe 10 or 20 sessions, you could get easily bored of that, always running away, always being scared, always losing characters. Whereas if you run a Ravenloft campaign, you stand a greater chance of survival, but it's going to wear thin after a while. But if you guys have done it or plan on doing it, running a full-fledged Ravenloft campaign, let me know, because I'm going to be reviewing the rest of the Ravenloft books that I have in my collection all the way until the end of the month, at which point I will be shelving this stuff until next year. Maybe I'll finish up whatever I can't finish this year, because I have a good stack of Ravenloft left. But until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed the Ravenloft review of Forbidden Lore. I hope you guys will keep the conversation going here, or maybe on Discord. I do have a new Ravenloft spot in Discord if you guys want to have a really long conversation, or even a video conversation. We could do that. I'm really anxious to hear what everybody's been thinking of Ravenloft, and if you guys have any recommendations. If there's a Ravenloft book that you just absolutely love, I haven't reviewed yet, still plenty of time for me to possibly squeeze that in before the end of the month. So until next time, guys, let me be the first to welcome you, or wish you all a happy holiday season, and until the next time, you know what I'm going to say, happy trails.